My cousin Haley's baby shower meant everything to me until she told me not to come, said I'd ruin the vibe. I'd handwritten every invitation, drove 4 hours for decorations. My miscarriage apparently made me a downer. That night, I screamed into my pillow. Her silence the next day said more than words. 2 years later, it's her crying on my doorstep, begging for help as her world collapses. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Haley and I were inseparable since 2nd grade. Bike rides, sleepovers, fruit roll-up trades. She was my person. When she found out she was pregnant, I was the first call. I decorated her announcement board, cried happy tears with her. So when I lost my baby, I expected her to hold me. Instead, she sent a meme that said, "Everything happens for a reason." That message shattered more than just my expectations, it broke my trust. I still remember Haley crying when Amy moved away for college. She swore we'd never grow apart like that. We even got matching tattoos, tiny waves for forever flow. But after my miscarriage, she disappeared. Weeks passed without a text. Amy messaged once, confused why I wasn't in baby shower photos. That's when it hit me. Haley hadn't just ghosted me. She'd rewritten the story, cast me as the villain in her curated fairy tale. Amy invited me to the gender reveal. Not knowing Haley had uninvited me privately, I showed up, balloons in hand, only to be met with Haley's frozen glare. "Didn't he get the memo?" she snapped. Everyone stared. I dropped the cake. The party shifted, whispers, glances. Amy looked mortified. I drove home in silence, icing smearing the passenger seat. That night, Haley posted a caption, "True friends know when to step back." My hands shook reading it. Trying to fix things, I sent Haley a letter. Handwritten, honest, vulnerable. She texted back, "Not everything's about you." Then blocked me. Amy reached out days later, apologizing for Haley's behavior. She didn't know Haley had told everyone I faked my miscarriage for attention. My therapist suggested detachment. But how do you detach from 20 years? I folded the ultrasound photo into my journal. The one Haley gave me, her name embossed on the cover. Maria, another daycare mom, mentioned Haley told the mom's group I was emotionally unstable. That's why I hadn't been invited to events. I laughed at first, then saw screenshots. Haley painting me as dramatic, unfit, unsafe. My chest tightened. David, my husband, urged me to confront her, but I froze. If I defended myself, I'd validate her lies. If I stayed silent, I let them grow. My hands trembled as I deleted our last selfie. At Emma's birthday, Amy hugged me tight. Haley walked in late, saw us, and immediately whispered to Jake. Within minutes, parents avoided me. One even grabbed her kid mid-game. Amy pulled me aside, confused. Jake later admitted Haley warned them I was dangerous. She said you snapped, he muttered. I left early, stomach in knots. That night, Haley posted, "Protecting your peace means cutting off toxicity, even if it cries victim." I nearly threw my phone. Outside the church after Hope's christening, I found Haley leaning against her sov, arms crossed. "You always twist people against me." She hissed. I stared at her, calm but shaking. Amy walked up, placing a hand on my back. "I chose Brielle," she said. "She never asked me to." Haley's eyes flashed. "I could ruin you both." I didn't flinch. Try. The wind picked up. The baby's cries echoed behind us. That moment, war began. Haley sent a mass email to the mom's group, long paragraphs about emotional boundaries and warning signs of unstable people, conveniently unnamed. But I knew everyone knew. Amy sent me screenshots of replies, some supportive, others cold. Maria asked if it was about me. I didn't answer. That night, I sat with David on the porch. "Should I move?" I asked. "Start over." He took my hand. "You shouldn't have to run from lies." I nodded. One morning, I found my daycare application flagged, reported safety concerns. The director whispered. My stomach dropped. To Haley, I requested the report anonymous, but laced with her signature phrasing, "Emotionally erratic, may pose risk to other children." I cried in the car, hands gripping the steering wheel. Then I called Maria. "Can you help me find a lawyer?" I asked. My voice cracked, but it didn't break. "Yes," she said, "and you're not alone in this." My lawyer advised caution. No lawsuits yet, but we compiled a binder, emails, screenshots, witness notes. Amy contributed a timeline. Sophie shared her own run-in with Haley. David offered to present everything to Pettiest if needed. The weight of it all exhausted me. But in the quiet of that night, I picked up my old journal, the one with Haley's name embossed. I tore out the first page. My hands didn't shake this time, they steadied. At Maria's kitchen table, surrounded by coffee cups and truth, we planned. Not revenge, just protection. Maria drafted a community letter. Sophie offered to speak at the next page. Amy updated the family group chat with receipts. Haley's silence turned venomous, posts of cryptic quotes and deleted comments. My inbox filled with cautious support. "Are you okay? We heard what she did." For the first time, I felt the tide shift. I wasn't drowning, I was seen. Sophie called, voice shaky. "She did it to me too," she said. Haley had once accused her of endangering Emma after a mild fall. Pettiest was called. Nothing came of it, but the damage lingered. "I thought I was alone," Sophie whispered. Suddenly, it wasn't just my story. Haley had a pattern: discredit, isolate, destroy. Amy chimed in later. "She tried to ruin my marriage." Haley's darkness wasn't personal. It was systemic. We weren't isolated victims. Amy unearthed an old group chat, screenshots of Haley mocking me after my miscarriage. "Maybe the baby dodged a bullet." Haley wrote. My hands clenched. Amy hadn't seen it before. She cried when she did. I defended her. She said broken. The screenshots became our anchor, the irrefutable proof of malice. We added them to the binder. I stared at the chat icon. That wave tattoo, a joke, a wave of cruelty we'd all drowned in. Jake approached me at the grocery store, nervous. "I know she forged that Pettiest letter," he said. My breath caught. He showed me the draft on his home computer, never sent but created. "She wanted to scare you off," he admitted. I asked, "Why now?" He looked down. "Because Amy's leaving me, because I let it go on too long." That letter never reached Pettiest, but the intent, the threat, it lived in every sleepless night. At the Pate meeting, Sophie spoke up. "We've allowed cruelty to masquerade as leadership," she said. Eyes on Haley. A murmur rose. Maria distributed the community letter. Karens read in silence. Haley stood, flustered. "This is slander," but no one moved. Amy walked in, late but confident. "The truth doesn't slander," she said. Haley stormed out. Her power dissolved not with fists but with facts, unity and courage. The silence after was not awkward. It was freeing. Later that night, I found an envelope under my doormat, no return address. Inside, a photo of my baby's sonogram, torn in half, taped together with a note, "Watch who you trust." My knees buckled. David grabbed it, furious, but I smiled, tears burning. She's losing. Her desperation was a confession. The photo wasn't hers to ruin anymore. I'd already rebuilt the memory with love, community, and the strength to never be silenced again. Not by anyone. Hayes' social circle shrank. Mom stopped replying. Invitations vanished. Amy told me Haley called sobbing they're bullying me. But no one had said a word. Truth doesn't need shouting. It settles in silence, stripping lies of power. Maria texted, "We see you." That phrase anchored me. For so long, I felt invisible. Now I wasn't just seen. I was believed. The community Haley once weaponized now wrapped around me like armor. And she had nothing left. One by one, Haley's allies dropped away. Even Jake filed for divorce. "I'm done protecting dysfunction," he said. Amy moved in with us temporarily. Emma and Hope filled our house with laughter. The air lightened. No more whispered fear. No more watching over my shoulder. At night, I tucked Amy's girls in, kissed their foreheads, and whispered, "You are safe." Not as a promise but a declaration. The house that once held grief now echoed with healing. I revisited the baby box, tiny socks, a crocheted hat, the unopened lullaby book. For months, I couldn't touch it. Now I placed the ray-taped sonogram inside. Not as a scar but as a shield. My loss wasn't erased. It was honored. Haley's cruelty didn't define me. My response did. That box no longer marked an ending, it marked survival. Maria offered to host a small memorial. I said yes, not for closure, for reclaiming what was mine. At the memorial, Maria read a letter I wrote to my unborn child. My hands shook, but my voice stayed steady. "You were wanted. You are remembered." Amy lit a candle as Sophie cried quietly. Haley wasn't mentioned, not once. The space wasn't about her. It never had been. The grief, once sharp, softened in that circle of women. I looked around and realized I didn't lose everything. I'd rebuilt something stronger, something Haley could never touch. Weeks later, I received a message from a woman named Kelsey. "I saw your name in a support group," she wrote. "Haley ruined me too." She'd been isolated, accused, emotionally blackmailed, a different state. Same script. We spoke on Zoom, tears, nods, shared scars. Haley wasn't just a cousin gone wrong, she was a repeat offender. And we weren't her secrets anymore. We were each other's witnesses. Each voice added to ours made the silence tremble. David found me in the nursery. "Repainting the walls, you sure?" he asked. I nodded. "It's not about filling space, it's about breathing again." The soft green color calmed me. Hope's laugh echoed down the hall. Amy peeked in, baby on her hip. We smiled. Haley's voice no longer haunted this room. We'd turned grief into legacy, Cain into purpose. The nursery wasn't a void anymore, it was a beginning. Not just for us, for all of us. Maria nominated me for the local wellness board. "Your voice matters," she said. I laughed, surprised. I'm not a leader, but at the meeting, I spoke about loss, survival, and reclaiming peace. People listened. They nodded. Afterward, 2 women approached me. "Thank you for saying what we couldn't." Haley once tried to silence me with fear. Now my truth filled a room. I wasn't just healing, I was helping others breathe. Speak and stand too. Haley tried a final play, an anonymous podcast episode, vague claims of betrayal, emotional abuse, sisterly sabotage. Amy recognized her voice instantly. We debated responding. In the end, we didn't. Her story unraveled without us. Listeners dissected inconsistencies. Comments questioned motives. Haley deleted the episode. Her platform, once power, became her undoing. The truth doesn't need theatrics, it stands even when whispered. That week, Amy and I recorded our own episode about sisterhood, survival, and finding home again. Our episode went viral quietly. No drama, just truth. Emails poured in. Women shared their own Haleys. We weren't rare, we were just the first to speak. One message stuck: "You gave me language for wounds I couldn't name." I wept reading it, not from sadness but from purpose. My pain had a pulse, and now, it had reach. Haley's legacy faded with every shared story. Ours grew louder, not in volume, but in resonance. And it kept growing. Amy opened a Center Hope House, a space for women navigating betrayal, loss, and manipulation. She asked me to lead workshops. I hesitated, then said yes. The first session, I held my journal, the one I nearly burned, and read aloud the letter to my baby. Tears filled the room. "Healing isn't linear," I said, "but it is possible." That afternoon, I walked outside. Sun on my face, kids playing in the yard. Hope wasn't just a name anymore. On what would have been my due date, I visited the memorial tree Amy planted. A ribbon fluttered in the breeze, blue and pink. I knelt beside it, fingers grazing the soil. "You changed me." I whispered it, "and I'm still here." Maria joined me, hand in mine. "You gave so many of us permission to speak," she said. Grief remained, yes, but it no longer consumed. It coexisted with grace, growth, and the fierce love I'd reclaimed. The last message I ever received from Haley came on a quiet Thursday. "You win." No apology, no remorse, just defeat. I didn't reply. Closure didn't come from her. It came from living, from Amy's laughter in the kitchen, from Hope's tiny hand gripping mine, from the sound of my own voice saying, "I am okay." Haley's chapter closed without fanfare. But mine and mine turned the page, not to forget, but to finally, fully live. I stood in the old nursery, now sunlit and warm, and whispered, "Thank you for choosing me," even for a moment. My grief no longer roared. It hummed softly beneath a life rebuilt. Amy walked in holding Hope. Smiling, the past hurt, but it didn't know me. I saw strength in every scar, and in that stillness I realized I had finally come home to myself. At the next support group, a woman whispered, "Your story gave me permission to leave." I nodded, tears rising. My pain had purpose now. Not to relive but to reshape. Each word I spoke helped stitch something new inside someone else. I didn't need to be whole to help. I just needed to be honest. And in that honesty, I found peace more powerful than any apology ever offered. Amy and I painted a mural at Hope House, a way flowing into sunrise. For all the women who survived, the plaque read. Each brushstroke Hope felt like reclaiming something stolen. Grief hadn't vanished, but now it lived beside joy. I pressed my palm into the paint, leaving a print, my mark, my choice. The wave didn't drown me, it carried me somewhere safer. And I finally let it. Haley moved out of town quietly. No posts, no fanfare, just absence. I didn't celebrate, I exhaled. Her departure wasn't a victory, it was a release, a space reclaimed. Amy's daughters grew up unbothered by chaos. Hope learned to say bye before mama. And somewhere in that soft sound, I knew I hadn't just survived, I had healed. At the community fair, someone called out, "Hope, how saved me?" I turned, smiling. No spotlight needed, just impact. David wrapped his arm around me. Maria handed out flyers. Amy chased kids through bubbles. We weren't survivors anymore, we were builders. Of peace, of power, of place. Haley's shadow faded behind us. What remained was brighter than I ever imagined possible. The last entry in my journal read, "I am not what was taken from me, I am what I built afterward." I closed it, not to forget, but to honor. The story didn't end in loss, it ended in legacy. And when Hope reached for that journal someday, I'd say, here's where it began, not pain, power. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.